All right, Paul Hefty here with 493W. I want to talk about coaching style start, and this will be a foundation to you developing your own style. All right, for the course, we'll kind of use these three common styles as kind of the foundation when we talk about coaching styles. First is autocratic. It's more of a commander or director style. This is that controlling type coach is going to lead all the structure. It's pretty much kind of a drill sergeant mindset, pretty direct. When I was growing up and participating in sports in the 70s and 80s, that's right, I'm old, this was the most common type. Number two then is democratic or cooperative type coach. This is where now the coach, instead of directing and controlling everything, is going to have the players have some influence. Usually it starts with the staff and the assistant coaches, so they're not going to micromanage things, let them do things, and then hopefully it evolves to where the players are involved and have an influence in decisions and so forth. And then the last is laissez-faire. This is just that submissive, pretty common in recreational leagues or maybe at a younger age where it's actually a great way to lead, where you really make very few decisions and you let the players just kind of lead the process. Okay. A new wave kind of leadership style is what's called transformational, and this is really where you're going to be a combo of all three. And it's just as it says, you're going to kind of transfer as a leader the power back to designated leaders in the team, whether it's staff, whether it's players. And the idea is everyone's a leader, then everybody has some ownership in what's going. There's some great videos here where you can watch, stop and watch on the PowerPoint. Pat Summit is a great example of that. Another way to think about this transformational leadership is it's going to find ways to identify and motivate and create common shared objectives. You know, it's about creating a need and a vision through inspiration of the players. And this, one of the strengths here is that usually brings on total commitment by the members of the group because there's ownership in what you're doing. Now, one thing that's real important here, and we talked about this before with leadership, is team readiness. And this is where situational leadership comes in and why this transformational style coach is a little more common now. I'll talk about these 4 stages that every group or team can go through. Usually you do, okay? And it starts with forming, then you storm, then you normalize, and then you perform at a high level. So we'll just look at those. Again, what they're talking about in this situational leadership, when you first form, it is more common to be that autocratic or commanding style because you just have to set a foundation to how things are run, how things are done. But then usually what happens as a group, as a team, somewhere you have a storming phase where there's infighting or there's maybe not everyone's all bought in yet. So then they question. And today that's a lot more common. So now with a transformational style, situational, you're going to be more of a democratic, where you're going to have some discussions, you're going to have some people involved. You're not going to try to micromanage the situation. Then hopefully you work through that pretty quickly and you come into that kind of norming phase where trust is developed, and now you can really be that transformational coach where your leaders will lead the process, your assistant coaches have tons of ownership, and then hopefully you get to the point, in my opinion, where in the performance phase where you really become kind of a laissez-faire, kind of that rec leader where the place and the operation and the culture and the leadership within the program is taking kind of care of everything. I love that. It's kind of the goal. You know, the question is, by the end, you could go out for a contest and the referees would come over and wouldn't even know who the head coach was because everybody was involved in decisions and part of the process. Another one here is Pete Carroll, who's currently the head football coach with the Seattle Seahawks. He uses this win forever philosophy. It's kind of neat if you look at the bottom. I know it's hard in small print, but what he starts out with is this belief system where you get to really know the players, get to know everyone, and that helps start to develop that trust, and that's the foundation of things. Then the next step is to go into competition is everything. You got to compete in everything you do. And then that gets into your environment where practice is everything. So you got to come ready to compete. You got to believe and have confidence. And then that follows that last part of that performance, where the confidence is so high, the trust is so good. You've prepared at such a high level and compete at such a high level that winning and success is just going to happen. Some neat notes here, though, is Pete Carroll's background. You should look into the history there. He has some ethical leadership dilemmas when he was at USC. We had a ton of success, a lot of NCAA rule violations and so forth with players. So those championships actually got voided out. Again, talked about this before in the leadership philosophy. Another way to look at it is my definition of leadership is the 5 E's, where you're going to empower and engage everyone so that the team evolves where you're striving for excellence. So it's that transforming the power to everyone. So here I want you to stop it, do a coaching style clinic where I want you to think about the different coaching styles, strengths and weaknesses, but write what is your coaching style. If you're going to give a definition of your philosophy and your style, and then down the road in a team management assignment, you're going to be asked to talk about that and describe that. Again, hopefully use some of these terms that we talked about in the foundation, but then you'll have to actually, once you define your own, talk about those other opposing styles to demonstrate you understand fully the different styles in leadership and in coaching. Last year then is, this was in the leadership, but these are some great role models when you want to look at coaching styles and articles. We've got Russ Rose, who's legendary women's volleyball coach here at Penn State. We've got Pat Summitt, who was a legendary basketball coach at University of Tennessee. And last then, we've got John Wooden, who is a legendary men's basketball coach at UCLA.